On Vikings, let's win this game.
Things are heating up behind the scenes in Minnesota, with the Vikings facing some major decisions. A key veteran could become a trade piece, and that possibility already has fans concerned. Meanwhile, the increasingly intense quarterback competition threatens to trigger major changes across the roster. And just when you think things couldn't get any more complicated, a stunning prediction emerges involving a player potentially leaving the team much sooner than expected. But it's not all cause for concern. An undrafted rookie is gaining serious momentum and could become the biggest surprise of training camp. Today, we're separating speculation from reality. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Blake Cashman's future in Minnesota could become one of the most uncomfortable decisions facing this organization, especially if the 2026 season starts slipping away. Cashman is entering the final year of the 3-year contract he signed in 2024, and at 30 years old, the Vikings must eventually decide whether to extend him, let him leave in free agency, or move him before the trade deadline. Austin Bundy of Fansided believes the Dallas Cowboys should target Cashman after missing out on Jordan Brooks, who signed an extension with the Miami Dolphins. Now, let's make something clear. This proposal only becomes realistic if Minnesota is no longer seriously competing. The Vikings built this roster to win now, and trading an important defender during a playoff race would send the wrong message. But the NFC North has become an offensive arms race, and nobody can guarantee that Minnesota's plan with Kyler Murray will produce enough victories. If the year begins looking painfully similar to 2025, new general manager Nolan Teasley may have to choose between keeping an expiring veteran and recovering draft capital while he still can. Bundy suggested that Dallas could send Minnesota the better of its 2 sixth-round picks along with the Vikings' own 7th-round selection. That return doesn't sound overwhelming, but Cashman could otherwise leave next offseason without bringing Minnesota anything directly in return. Teasley also comes from a Seattle Seahawks organization that wasn't afraid to move an aging asset like Geno Smith for draft capital, so the possibility can't be dismissed simply because Cashman remains productive. Last season, he played 789 defensive snaps for Brian Flores, earned a 63.6 overall defensive grade from PFF, recorded 95 solo tackles, and generated 19 pressures, including 3 sacks as a blitzer. That versatility is exactly why Dallas would be interested. After trading Micah Parsons, the Cowboys added Kenny Clark in the original deal, brought in former Green Bay Packers pass rusher Rashan Gary, and drafted Malachi Lawrence in the first round. Adding Cashman for 2 late-round picks could be another attempt by Jerry Jones to strengthen a defense around an already dangerous offense. From Dallas's perspective, that could be a steal. For Minnesota, it would be a painful business decision involving an experienced and useful defender who may not fit the front office's plans beyond this season. Cashman isn't a superstar whose name dominates national headlines, but his production and contract situation could create a real market. If the Vikings are winning, he stays. If they fall out of contention, Teasley must determine whether one final stretch with Cashman is more valuable than the draft picks he could bring back. The Vikings wanted protection at quarterback after everything that went wrong last season, but building a deeper room has created a new problem. Minnesota may not have enough space to keep Max Brosmer. The second-year quarterback was forced onto the field as an undrafted rookie before he was truly ready, and the results weren't pretty. Still, Alec Lewis of The Athletic reported that optimism around Brosmer remains inside the organization. The Vikings understand that injuries pushed him into an unfair situation, and they also know that releasing him would probably attract interest from other teams. But where exactly does he fit? Kyler Murray and J.J. McCarthy are battling for the starting job, while Carson Wentz returned after making 5 starts in 2025 and finishing with a 2-3 record before a shoulder injury ended his season. That leaves Brosmer fourth in a quarterback room Minnesota probably can't carry intact into the regular season. The Vikings could waive him and attempt to bring him back on the practice squad, but that would expose him to every other team in the league. If another organization sees the same developmental potential Minnesota still sees, Brosmer may never make it back. His clearest path to staying could depend on the outcome of the competition between Murray and McCarthy. If Murray wins the job, remains healthy, and performs well during the opening months, Minnesota could consider trading McCarthy before the early November deadline, but only if another team offers meaningful value for the former top 10 selection. Such a move would create room for Brosmer, yet the Vikings are unlikely to make a major quarterback decision merely to protect the 4th player on the depth chart. Brosmer's other route to QB3 would involve an injury to Wentz because beating him outright appears unlikely. Minnesota gave the 10-year veteran a 1-year, $3 million contract and guaranteed nearly all of it. Wentz also performed better across a larger sample of meaningful snaps, so one strong preseason from Brosmer probably won't erase that financial commitment or the experience separating them. That puts the young quarterback in a brutal position. He must show enough growth to convince Minnesota that he remains worth developing, even though an excellent camp still may not secure his roster spot. The Vikings finally have the depth they lacked last season, but NFL roster rules don't reward teams for stockpiling 4 quarterbacks. Brosmer's preseason will matter because it can strengthen his case, yet his future may ultimately be determined by the health, performance, and market value of the 3 players ahead of him. Now the pressure surrounding J.J. McCarthy has reached another level because one national prediction has the Vikings trading him to the Baltimore Ravens. Jarrett Bailey of SB Nation included that scenario in his July 22nd list of 61 predictions for the 2026 season, projecting that Minnesota will eventually move McCarthy and reunite him with Ravens head coach Jesse Minter. Before anybody starts treating this like breaking news, it is important to draw a hard line here. This is speculation, not a report that Minnesota is actively shopping McCarthy. Still, the timing makes the idea difficult to ignore. McCarthy is entering a legitimate training camp competition with Kyler Murray after an uneven 2025 season in which he completed fewer than 60% of his passes and finished with 11 touchdowns against 12 interceptions. Those numbers are why the Vikings brought in Murray instead of handing McCarthy another uncontested opportunity. The Baltimore connection comes through Minter, who served as Michigan's defensive coordinator when McCarthy helped the Wolverines win a national championship. Minter knows the quarterback personally and may still believe in his long-term potential. But the destination raises an obvious question. Why would Baltimore surrender meaningful draft capital for McCarthy when Lamar Jackson is firmly established as its starter? Veteran Tyler Huntley is also projected behind Jackson, which means McCarthy would initially arrive as a developmental backup rather than an immediate replacement. Minnesota, meanwhile, has strong reasons not to sell low. McCarthy is only 23 years old, already understands Kevin O'Connell's system, and carries a manageable 2026 salary cap charge of approximately $6 million on a fully guaranteed rookie contract. Murray offers experience, elite mobility, and a proven NFL resume, but he is on a 1-year deal, has a meaningful injury history, and turns 29 in August. If he struggles or gets hurt, McCarthy provides an alternative who already knows the offense. If Murray succeeds, his price could rise dramatically next March, and Minnesota may decide against committing major money to him on a multi-year contract. Keeping McCarthy would therefore protect the Vikings in both directions while giving him additional time to recover the promise that made him the 10th overall pick in 2024. Kevin O'Connell has said both quarterbacks handled the offseason competition professionally. McCarthy is focused on maximizing every opportunity, and Justin Jefferson has seen growth from each of them. But once camp begins, performance will take control of the conversation. McCarthy can quiet the trade speculation by outplaying Murray. If Murray wins decisively and another team offers meaningful draft capital, the Vikings will face a much harder decision. Baltimore is only a hypothetical destination right now, but McCarthy's fight to remain part of Minnesota's long-term future is very real. Every training camp produces at least one player who refuses to remain anonymous, and this year, Dillon may be that player for Minnesota. Last summer, Max Brosmer earned the Mr. Mankato distinction as an unexpected standout who fought his way onto the roster. Over the years, the Vikings have also watched players like Ivan Pace Jr., Stephon Diggs, and Adam Thielen rise from relative obscurity and force the organization to make room for them. Bell now has a chance to add his name to that tradition. The undrafted rookie out of Georgia has quietly built momentum throughout the offseason program, and with rookies preparing to report for training camp, his path to the final 53-man roster is becoming impossible to ignore. Bell stands 6'1" and weighs 209 pounds, giving him the size Minnesota wants at receiver, but his versatility is what makes him so intriguing. He has experience lining up as a running back, flanker, and return specialist, and Jordan D. Hill of 247 Sports even compared parts of his game to former first-team All-Pro Deebo Samuel. The concern is that those physical tools never produced dominant college numbers. Across 4 seasons at Georgia, Bell caught 119 passes for 1,269 yards and 11 touchdowns, while adding 51 carries for 373 yards and 5 more scores. He operated behind Zachariah Branch and played in Mike Bobo's screen-heavy, short-passing offense, so NFL teams questioned his route running and allowed him to go undrafted. That decision could become Minnesota's gain. Alec Lewis of The Athletic reported that Bell's route running improved during the offseason program, while ESPN's Kevin Seifert and Sports Illustrated's Will Ragatz both identified him as a minicamp standout. Bell even earned first-team reps, a significant development for an undrafted rookie fighting from the bottom of the depth chart. The top 3 receiver spots belong to Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and free agent addition Jauan Jennings, but everything behind them remains open. Ty Felton is trying to rebound after a quiet rookie year, and Miles Price was used almost exclusively as a returner. Bell's primary competition for one of the remaining positions includes Dante Fleming, Deshaun Jones, and Luke Wysong. Nothing has been handed to him, and off-season praise won't matter if he disappears once the pads come on. But Bell has the size, versatility, and growing confidence to make this competition uncomfortable for everyone around him. If his improved route running holds up and he proves useful on special teams, Kevin O'Connell may have a difficult time cutting him. Bell entered the offseason as an undrafted afterthought. He now enters camp with a legitimate chance to become the latest unknown player Vikings fans refuse to forget. Minnesota is entering training camp with more questions than roster spots. Blake Cashman's future could depend on whether this team wins. Max Brosmer may be squeezed out by a crowded quarterback room, and J.J. McCarthy must prove he still belongs in the franchise's long-term plans. At the same time, Dillon Bell has a real opportunity to become the unexpected player nobody saw coming. That's what makes this camp so important. Veterans are fighting to stay, young players are fighting to rise, and every decision carries consequences. Keep believing, Purple Faithful, because the answers are finally about to arrive on the field. Stay tuned. Skol Vikings, let's go.